Hey, what's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the Brown Gent. In this video, I've got a banger for you, and that is how you can make sure that you qualify for Hyperliquid's Season 2 airdrop. So let's get into it. Before we do, as always, just remember, nothing I say is financial advice. Please do your own research. I'm just a guy on YouTube. And if you want extra coaching, guidance, and support, you can find the links to my paid services down below. But even still, make sure you hit the like button, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. Now, I did share on Twitter earlier today what my 3 biggest priorities for this stage of the cycle are. And I'm not going to get into all of them, but clearly here in number 1 is stacking Hype, the Hyperliquid token, and exploring the Hyper EVM ecosystem. Now, we're going to get into sort of why that is, but let me take you down a trip to memory lane, which is no better place to start than the Twitter proclaimed best airdrop hunter in CC2 Ventures, who basically retired after receiving a $1 million airdrop from Hyperliquid. So he had $1 million, and this was at a price point of $5 a token. You may not be surprised to know that Hyperliquid has 5x'd that price. So CC2 Ventures got $5 million because I know he was keeping a large portion of this airdrop. Now, there are some people who weren't happy with what happened in season 1. I know some people in my day-to-day life as well who did not sign the terms and conditions. I remember one day I got it and I signed it, but some people they didn't sign it because they didn't know, or in this case, they didn't sign it because it wasn't worth it. And then they basically missed out on $600,000 in hype. And once again, this was right when the airdrop came out. So multiply that by 5, and that's $3 million. I do think potentially that when we do see season 2 of this airdrop come out, that potentially these people who missed out the first time will be given another opportunity to sign for that. I think that's probably the fair way to do it. Obviously, some people will probably wish that they don't get that opportunity because that is a lot of sell pressure, but who knows? This is all speculation and really dependent on the team. That being said, if you get a terms and conditions, make sure you sign it. Now, before we even get into sort of what you have to do, I just want to remind you that Hyperliquid is like the on-chain Binance, and basically Hyperliquid tokens are continuously purchased by the algorithm based on how much fees they generate. So there is a constant buy pressure or a moat to continue sort of sucking up this token. I truly believe that in a couple years, this token will be 4 digits. I don't think it's going to happen in 2025. I do think we get to triple digits this year, but I think 4 digits will likely take maybe 2 to 3 years. But you never know. Now, if you want to know how to buy Hyperliquid token, I'm not going to cover this in this video. I made a tutorial about a month ago. Definitely go in and watch this, and you'll be all caught up. This video sort of assumes you already know how to do that. So I'm going to talk about the activities that I think that you should do that will put you in a good state to qualify for season 2. So the first is going and staking some Hyperliquid token. On this wallet, I've staked 410. And if you have Hype token, which if you watch that video, you'll know how to do, you go here, you click spot to staking transfer balance, and you're able to transfer spot tokens to staking or the other way around. Once you do that, you can then go and stake versus some validators. So you can click on, I don't know, Hyper Foundation 1. And if I had some tokens here in the staking pool, I could do that, and I can basically stake against it. Now, I have split mine across 4 validators: Nansen and Hyper Collective, Foundation 1, 2, and 3. Honestly, pick whichever ones you want. Just make sure their status is active. Don't pick the inactive ones, at least not until they're active. Another thing I would recommend that you do is deposit some money in the vaults. So basically, depositing in the vaults is like basically betting on the side of the casino. And as you know, the casino or the house always has an edge. So I put in like $3,000. It's currently worth $3,001.67. I did this like yesterday or 2 days ago. I do think you want to have some sort of exposure here. And the final part, because you already have Hyperliquid token, is perhaps do some spot and perpetual trading, which you already know how to do from the previous video. Now, we do have some good news. Rabby Wallet has integrated the Hyper EVM chain finally. So if you use Rabby or the bank, you can now portfolio track and you can sort of see what the transactions are and everything else, which is, very good update. One more thing as well. This is pretty much all you have to do on the core Hyperliquid. So the Hyperliquid application, once you're all set up, staking, doing some spot and perpetual trading. In the case of spot, likely holding it and having some money in the vault. Also, you can transfer some Hyperliquid token or some other spot tokens to their EVM chain, right? So you click the EVM transfer button next to Hype. I'm able to move all of that, right? I'm able to move all those tokens to another, to the Hyper EVM. Or I can go backwards and I can move stuff from the Hyper EVM to spot, which is cool too. So definitely worth doing this. I think you should be funding Hyper EVM if you do want to get some exposure. Now, the first thing I will mention is the NFT platform Drip Trade. I will be minting NFTs from time to time. I minted PIP, sold it for a profit, and sold it in Hype. You can go ahead and mint these NFTs. The only one worth holding onto, in my opinion, is Wealthy Hypeo Babies, which is a Milady variant. Its floor price is basically 182 Hype, which is like a significant amount, but they do get a ton of airdrops, and Wealthy Hypeo Babies have been eating very well. So I got one of these. Like I said, I think it's worth holding it. Obviously, if you don't have the funds for it or you'd rather hold Hyperliquid token, totally understand. There are two big dexes. And you know what? Before I even get into the dexes, one more thing I'll say to you is whenever you see airdrop people make videos, they like to post every single application. Most of that is because they just want to have content to give you, right? They get ad revenue or whatever. I get like basically nothing from YouTube. In fact, I'm monetized, but I'm unable to collect any of that because I moved and I didn't do all that documentation stuff, or it hasn't been completed properly. So I don't really care. I don't really get any benefit from making these YouTube videos besides educating you. So I'm not gonna sort of give you every application. There are a ton of applications on Hyper EVM. I'm gonna show you the ones that I use, and I think just having exposure and providing liquidity on this chain is enough. They're not going to go and check and say, hey, you didn't use all these applications. You don't get it. So don't worry about having to be everywhere. Just be focused. So the first application is called Liquid Swap or liquid.ag. I go in here and I, if I'm ever trading like FEUSD to Hype or something, I'll use a DEX like this. A lot of these applications will potentially have an airdrop for those protocols as well, but I like using Liquid Swap to do my volume, as well as Hyperswap. Hyperswap actually takes it one step further with their points program, and you can go in here, and if you sort of meet the criteria, like holding 10,000 Buddy and then using Hyperswap, then you'll earn points. It's a bunch of things you can do. Once again, don't focus on these specific application airdrops. They're nice, but they will be a rounding error in the grand scale of things as it relates to Hyperliquid. One protocol I do think is worth using is Felix. Felix is very much like Aave, which is basically, you borrow and lend, right? So you lend and you borrow. So basically, if I wanted to use collateral asset Hype here, I can go and hit borrow. I can select the amount of Hype I want to use as collateral, and I can borrow FEUSD. I believe there's a minimum FEUSD that you have to borrow. I can't remember what it was. Maybe it's $100. But regardless of what you end up doing over here, when you already have your position open, in this case, I have 200 Hype, borrowing $1,000 with a liquidation price of 852. Health ratio 3. As you know, I recommend always having a health ratio above 2 if you can afford to. Redemption risk, don't worry about it. If you pick a decent APY, basically it doesn't close your trove, because otherwise somebody else can basically force you to close and liquidate your position, and obviously sell to get to the place where you get the FEUSD back. But basically you go to manage here, and what you can do is you can always deposit more Hype, which basically adds more collateral. You can withdraw Hype, which removes collateral. You can borrow more, which puts a lot more stress on your position. You can repay the borrow, which takes a lot of stress off your position. You can close your position, which ends it. You basically pay it off, whatever. And then you can adjust interest rate, which is basically do you want to make sure that there's no redemption. But if you pick up whatever it recommends to you, you have really no risk. So that's what I like doing. Felix is good. So Volantis is another one where basically I deposited. Okay. So Felix is a good one. Volantis is another where basically I deposited Hype, and you get ST Hype. So you can see my portfolio over here. I deposited 100 Hype, and I get 2,619. This is just providing liquidity, staking some Hype token here, getting some yield as well. Swap and actually put funds into these pools and provide liquidity this way as well. That's also something I would recommend doing. Doesn't have to be that much, but obviously usually they will look at time weighted average balance, right? So if you put in $1 for a day, it's really not going to move the needle. But if you put in a couple $100 and leave it for a few weeks, I think that's good. You can also look at Hyperbeat. I use Hyperbeat, and I go to their Ultra Hype Volt, because once again, I don't care about putting UBTC or USDT or ETH. So I just deposit in here, and you can see here that I have $1,500 worth of value, basically worth of Hype, basically 57 HB Hype here. So I got that here. Earning yield, once again, just getting exposure, basically providing some of my liquidity on chain. Okay. And finally, I have sentiment here. Basically, I've deposited, you go in here and you deposit Hype if you'd like to, and then you get some APY as well. But it's also a lending and borrowing platform. So like I said, there's a ton of different applications you can use. I've only scratched the surface, but if you want to get the airdrop, focus on the things I showed you, and you don't even have to use all these applications. Use fewer of them, but just provide liquidity, stake your Hyperliquid within the core validators, use some of the DEXs, push some volume on Hyper EVM, potentially pick up the wealthy Hypeo Babies NFT, mint some NFT projects, and do some perpetual trading and hold some spot tokens. And I think you'll do fantastic earning the Hyperliquid airdrop. Just remember, please sign the terms and conditions. I don't want to see more people upset and complaining when that happens. I do think this token has incredible upside, and why it's number one is not just because this airdrop was the best airdrop in 2024, but I do think that the token will continue to appreciate. So even when you're farming and providing liquidity, the more you have it focused on the Hype token, the more you're going to appreciate, because I believe the Hype token has so much more to grow from here. I hope you enjoyed this video. Until next time, hit the like button, share the video, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks again for watching.